Let's take etcd external to the control plane. So here it is. I said this video might not exist, and it does. I made it in the end. I decided to go for it because there's going to be scenarios where people want etcd to be external from the control plane. Now, the main reason I can think of is blast radius. So imagine you lose all control plane nodes. That's just something that might happen, possibly unlikely, but it could. Someone accidentally deletes them, all the VMs die, or all the VMs happen to be on the same node that dies, or whatever it might be, okay? If etcd is on those nodes, you've just lost your cluster state. An ideal world, you'd have CI/CD and backups and things like that that would allow you to just redeploy everything and everything's great. But in this scenario, we don't have that. We're setting up our cluster. You know, I'm a brand new business that's setting this up. I've got customers wanting to jump on our system right now, straight away, and I've got some state that I need to keep. Well, I've now got etcd removed from the control plane and put onto their own separate nodes. And by doing that, it means if I lose those control plane nodes, I've still got my cluster state stored in etcd, and I could restore my entire cluster from that state. There's going to be data things, you know, like stuff stored on persistent volumes that maybe you've lost, but that's another thing. Your cluster state exists, so you can redeploy everything. The other thing we're going to be doing is adding Cilium into this cluster. Now, that's a personal choice. You don't have to do this. I just really like Cilium, so I'm going to be using it. It purely is optional. Have a read up on Glico and Cilium and all the other pod networks available. They all have their own benefits. I just really like Cilium because of its integration with eBPF, which is direct kernel interaction. And it also has things like service mesh to a point support and plenty of other things that are really useful. That's the only reason I'm going to be going for it. You don't have to. This is just me saying I'm going to be doing that. If you want to follow along, do. Great. So yeah, we're going to get Cilium in and we're going to get etcd out onto its own nodes. There's going to be 9 nodes now. It's a brand new cluster. I've deleted the old one. And I'm not going to go through every step again because obviously the previous videos cover the majority of the setup in terms of installing containerd and kubelets and all that other stuff. This is going to do a quick installation of the cluster, but it's going to mainly focus on the etcd element, okay? So if you need to learn more about actually setting the cluster up and installing the tools and getting containerd set up, go and watch previous videos first, then come back to this one so that you can put that knowledge together. I did separate it out on purpose because it would have been a very long video. This one's going to be a very long video anyway. It would have been even longer. We're talking probably nearly an hour if I'd have gone through every single element of setting this cluster up and explaining what's going on. So rather than carrying on talking for another 10 minutes, let's get into it. All right, so here we are back in VirtualBox. We have 3 new machines here for etcd. We have 3 worker nodes and 3 control planes. Now, I won't be going through setting all these up like I have in previous videos because there's no point in repeating what I've already recorded. So let's just talk about where we're up to. So I have all 3 nodes connected to via SSH. Sorry, all 6 nodes, all 3 of the workers, all 3 of the control panels, and all 3 of the etcd nodes. I've also installed containerd. I've installed the kubelet. I've installed basically everything that I installed in the other ones. So if you want to have a quick look at one of the previous videos, I'll link that up somewhere around. And just to kind of go through, it's this guide here we're going to be following, and we're using the external etcd setup. Make sure you've set everything up as per the other video, essentially. The best one to follow is the previous one. We're pretty much going to be doing exactly the same thing, but with etcd as an external setup. So we have 3 or 4 machines that meet the minimum requirements for the control planes. We have 3 or more machines that meet minimum requirements for the workers. And we have 3 machines for etcd. So that will be this bit here. We also have the full network connectivity between all the machines because we set it up the same as all the other ones. We have super user privileges. We have SSH access to all nodes in the system from one device, and we have kubeadm and the kubelet already installed on the machines and containerd, as I say. So let's just have a quick look through, just double check. What do we need? We need to create a load balancer for the kube API server. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. Again, we're just going to use this here, this kube VIP. Now, I'm not going to go through this process again because once again, you know, I've done this once before already. So what I'm actually going to do is quickly drag this off the screen. I'll copy and paste the bits over that I need to, generate the manifest, and just get that done. Okay, so if you just bear with me a second, I'll go ahead and do that and then skip forward in time to the point where it's all done. Okay, so I have my manifest set up. I've just finished running this command and my three worker nodes, sorry, my three control planes all have that on now. So if I just go and take a look at them, etc, Kubernetes, manifests, and then kubevip, obviously it's not going to work on these bottom three nodes. So just ignore what you see at the bottom. It's only the control plane nodes that these need to be on. And we can see I've got this set up, same manifest on all three. It's got my VIP there, and that's good and ready to go. So that's that bit done. We have the load balancer set up. So I'll just switch back to the website with the guide on. So that's done. All good to go. We've created a Kube API server load balancer that resolves to DNS. Okay, let's just verify that as well. So let's have a look at etc hosts. I have set that up on all of the servers, and that also includes the etcd nodes. Okay, so all servers have that set up. So all of them know what the VIP is. Next, we're going to just have a quick scroll down and we can just double check and make sure that that actually works when we've set that up to confirm that it will work. We don't need to do that now because obviously we've not set anything up yet. So stats control plane nodes and etcd nodes. Well, we're not doing that. So let's have a look. We can scroll down to external etcd nodes. So setting up the cluster with external etcd nodes is similar to the procedure used for stacked, with the exception that you should set up etcd first. So that's what we're going to do. And then it says follow these instructions. Well, I've already opened that up. Here we go. So let's have a quick read through this. This is, to be honest, the bulk of the video. This is the main part because the rest of it's pretty much going to be the same. So we need to have three hosts that can talk to each other over these ports. Well, I've not set a firewall up, so that's fine. I know that works. So we can obviously set firewalls up to block all ports and just allow those two. And we should do that in theory. But for this video, that's not what we're doing, okay? And let's have a look at the rest of it. So each must have a container runtime, kubelet, and kubeadm installed. But like I say, I've already got that. We've got systemd in a bash compatible system. Each host should have access to the Kubernetes container image registry, which they do, and some infrastructure to copy files between the host. For example, SSH and SEP, that's fine. We have that, that's absolutely fine. So we can generate everything on one node and then distribute the necessary files. So I'll unsynchronize my panes on my etcd setup here. So let's just clear the screen and unsynchronize the pane. So I'll do everything on this one and then transfer them over to here. All I need to do now is make sure that I can SSH over to these nodes. So if I just get the IP address of this, we can just grab that IP and I can do SSH straight over to there, and it's asking me for a password. Well, that's fine. I can go ahead and copy my public key across. So all I need to do is just cut that out. So I'll grab the SSH idrsa.pub. We'll grab that, and then in here we'll open up .ssh not known hosts, authorized keys. And in there, we'll just go ahead and insert that key. And we'll do the same in here. So that will be open vim.ssh, authorized keys. And in there, just paste that key in again. And that's it. So now when I try and do this SSH command, it should just connect. There we go. So now I've got a setup where I can copy files across as required. So that's good. That's my SSH connection between the three. I can remove that afterwards once I'm happy with that. So we don't need to worry about generating their certificates because kubeadm will do that for us. We'll be using IPv4. I'm not going to be doing IPv6 as I haven't in any of the other videos, and I'm not going to start now. That will be a separate kind of thing that I might do later down the line. So we must do this on every host where etcd should be running. Now we need to configure the kubelet to be a service manager for etcd. Since etcd was created first, you must override the service priority by creating a new unit file as the higher precedence than kubeadm provided kubelet unit file. Okay, so what that's basically saying is create this file. That's all it's doing. Okay, so let's have a look what this is actually doing. So it's running kubelet with a Q command line flags, and we need to replace systemd with a C group driver of your container runtime, which we know is C group 2. That's fine. The default value in kubelet is C group FS. So that should be fine. And replace the value of container runtime import for a different container runtime if needed. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that, and we'll do this on all three. So that was that. And now all I need to do is just go ahead and open that file. So that file was called this. So I'll grab that, we'll open that up and just take a quick look at it. So the address is localhost, that's fine. Pod manifest is fine. C group driver. Well, it did say that we need to change systemd with the C group driver of your container runtime. So, I mean, that's what we're planning on using. So we'll change that. Okay, so I messed up. And I'm going to explain my mess up here. I don't know what I was thinking when I did this. I was either tired because, got a baby and they keep you up all night, or I just misread what was going on the screen at the time here. I just didn't pay attention to what I was doing. I mean, I've done this countless times, so I don't know why I did this, but here it is, okay? I'm about to tell you to replace C group driver equals systemd with C group driver equals C group fs. Do not do that, okay? Ignore me. Just write the file out as it is right now and just ignore what I'm about to say. Obviously, if you've got different things like a different endpoint for container D, or you did use this different C group driver for whatever reason, because you do know what you're doing and for some reason you're watching this video, then change it. But if you're following everything I've done, don't. Leave it exactly as it is, okay? There's two reasons I've left it in. The first is I'm not a professional video editor, so to chop and change and make it all fit would just taken far too much time. I'm one person doing this entire thing. You know, I don't have an editor. I don't have a producer. It's me. I sit here, I record, I film, I do everything, the audio, everything, literally everything, okay? So I haven't really realistically got time to sit and chop and change this. The other reason is I kind of feel like it's a good thing to leave in. Like, I'm obviously telling you not to do this, so to stop you the pain that I'm about to go through when we inevitably have the issue trying to get etcd running. But the reason I'm leaving it in is because you need to know that everyone makes mistakes, okay? It can be a simple mistake where you've misread something. It can be a simple mistake where you're too tired. You know, I've made plenty of mistakes in my career. There was one time I restarted an entire cluster of databases accidentally and took out the entire database system. These things happen, okay? So I've left it in because the troubleshooting is going to be there. The error that occurs as a result will obviously be there, and you will see that error and how it's fixed. Okay, so it's staying in, but do not make the change I'm about to tell you to do. Okay, just leave it as C group driver equals systemd and move along. Let's carry on. Just make sure we're changing the right bit on all three. C group driver, C group fs. Yep, that's fine. Container runtime remote. Okay, that's fine. And the container runtime unit endpoint is this. So let's just double check to make sure that that actually exists. So we'll just run that. And yes, we have that file. So that should be fine. Okay, so next we just need to run these two commands, which will reload the daemon and restart the kubelets. So let's just run those, and then we'll do systemctl, status, and kubelets. So we just check that. This has actually failed. So I'm just going to check why that's failed. So we'll do journal, ctl, fu, kubelets. Let's have a look. So running on swap is not supported. Have I not disabled swap? I obviously didn't disable swap. So swap off. And -a. Let's just do that in a FS tab. I thought I'd actually done this already, but obviously this is one of the things I forgot to do. And I imagine if that's the case, I probably didn't do it on here either. So let's do that too while I'm at it. And yeah, there we go. I didn't do it on here either. So there we go. So that's something make sure you've done. And now I'll just do restart again, just to check that. And we'll do status. So let's have a look. We have, I believe, a loaded active service. So that's cool. Okay. Yep, that looks good to me. So just to be sure, let's do journal ctl kubelet, make sure nothing's crashing. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So there'll be a couple of errors because obviously we've not done anything yet. We've not set anything up yet, but it's not crashing, which is the most important point. So excellent. We've got our kubelet started, so that's a good start. Now, next we need to do this. This is the thing we need to do on one node and then copy the bits across as we need to. Okay, so what we'll do is we will copy. We could just run this directly actually, because I think down here it's going to expect us to have that already set. Yep. Okay, that's fine. So what I'll do is I will run these. I need to obviously change those IPs, and then we'll go ahead and run this bit and change the names, and then the rest of it we should just be able to run without having to change anything. So let's just check what this is doing. So we'll do export host 1. I'll unsynchronize those panes, so I'm just working on one. So host 0 is 192.168.0.204. Host 1 is 205. And host 2 is 206. So that's these three nodes, as you can see. This is 206, this is 205, and this is 204. Okay, so now we just need to do the host names. So we'll grab that and change these for it's KTS etcd -0. So that's name 0, and then it will be 1 and 2. So we've done that. 1 and 2. Let's just change that and correct that. Okay. So now we've done that, we should in theory just be able to go ahead and create all of this. So I'm just going to copy all of that. Let's have a quick look what's happening. So it's going to make these directories. It's going to set these environment variables for, it's basically an array. Then it's going to loop over that array and grab the host and the name out of it, and then generate this kubeadm config file, which has an init configuration and a cluster configuration for etcd, passing in things like the initial clusters. So this will have everything in. So basically what this is doing is telling the etcd what the nodes are, what the listen peer URLs are, client URLs and things like that. So let's go ahead and paste that in. Now if we have a look in temp and then the host name, which was the IP address, and then we'll just grab one of them. Okay, there we go. So that looks good. We've got these values in here. And then for each one of them, that should have actually changed the IP. So if I do that, we've got 5. And if I do it once more on 6, this should be 6. Yeah, there we go. So that's fine. That's all working. And then we generate the certificate authority next. If you already have a CA in action, well, yeah, I mean, if you have a CA available, then, you know, you'll know what you need to do with that. I've not set one up. You can set them up. They're pretty straightforward to set up, actually. There's a Cloudflare SSL CLI that makes it really easy. In fact, that's what I used on my Kubernetes the hard way tutorial that I wrote up on Medium, which now I've plugged it. I might as well put a link down below. And yeah, so I don't need to worry about any of this. If you do not have them already, then let's get a kubeadm to do it. So yeah, okay, kubeadm init phase certs etcca. So we'll just paste that in there. And do we need to do this on all 3? No, we just need to do it for that because we just need those 2 files. So that's fine. Let's run that. Cool. Well, that was easy. Now we need to create certificates for each member. Well, that's absolutely fine. So this creates the certificate authority. So these certificates will be used to sign the certificates that are generated here, basically. Okay, so we will go ahead and do the init phase for all of those. We'll then remove the non-usable certificates, non-reusable ones, and then go ahead and init those phases and copy them across by the looks of it. So let's just have a look. Yeah, so we'll end up copying them across and then we should have this sort of layout next. Okay, that's fine. So let's do that. We'll just copy this. We'll paste that in, press enter. That will now go through and generate it for all of the nodes. So we've got etc2 there, etc1 and etc0. Cool. Well, there you go. That's that. That's nice and easy. So next we need to copy those certificates. So we'll set our user to be Ubuntu, which we didn't need to do. In fact, you know what? I don't need to do that. I can actually set it to be root because I copied I can SSH in as root. So if you did it as Ubuntu, obviously do it as Ubuntu. I've done it as root, so I'm going to stick it with root. And it also means that I can just copy them straight into place. So actually all I need to do is copy them to this location. So I can just modify this very slightly. So my current host is this, and then I'm going to be using SCP to copy there. But this time, instead of having to log in and do all of this and change it to root, I can just go ahead and copy this straight over by the looks of it. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's have a look what we're actually copying first, okay? So I'm going to be looking at temp 192.168.2.5, for example, and I have this directory called PKI. Okay, that's fine. So we're actually copying all of this across, and instead of copying everything across, I'm actually going to do it in 2 steps. So what I'm going to do is do kubeadm to the roots directory, so just, you know, the home directory of root, and then we will do it with PKI. So for this time, we'll do this to etc Kubernetes. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And then we can do the same thing again, but for host 2 and yeah, just 2 actually, because obviously we don't need to copy it for host 0 because we are on host 0 anyway. So we'll do that for host 2, and then we'll copy the kubeadm, and then we'll copy the PKI. So what I'll do is just make sure that I've got a kubeadm config.yaml in here and a kubeadm config.yaml in here. Yep, that's fine. And then I should also have etc, and then what was it? Kubernetes PKI and setc Kubernetes PKI. So I should have my etc directory in there, which I have. And that looks like it should be it. So let's have a look on host 0. That's, yeah, while we're at it. Okay, so we should have API server etcd client on all of the nodes, which we have. So that's those certificates there. And then we should have an etcd directory on each one of them. The only difference being that this one will have a ca.key key by the looks of it. So all of them should have the CRT, which looks the same there. Yeah, okay, so all of them should have the CRT, but this one should have the key. So the host essentially should have the CAT. So let's just double check that one. So we've got, sorry, the key, not CRT. So we've got CRT and key there, and only CRT. Only CRT. Then we've got the health checks, the peer, the server, peer, the server, peer, the server, and the health checks. Okay, yeah, that looks good to me. So that's all the certificates copied across. Now we need to create the static pod manifests. Now that the certificates and configs are in place, it's time to create the manifest on each host. So on all of them, run this command. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different. In here, we have them in the home directory. In here, we have them in this directory here. So that's cool. We can go ahead and just run this here. Then we can grab this and run that. In fact, I can just go ahead and run. In fact, no, that'll work. That'll be fine. So that's fine. And the same on that one. Now we just need to check the cluster health. So we should, in theory, now be able to see those containers coming up on container D. So what I'm just going to quickly do is, in fact, I don't need synchronized panes for this. I don't even need to check container D thinking about it. I can actually just go ahead and run this. So to do that, we need etcdctl, which I don't actually have at the moment. I don't think. Nope. So what we can do is do install etcdl. And all we need to do is go ahead and download it. So I imagine we need to download the whole thing and then grab that binary out of it. So let's go ahead and have a look at the releases. And we will go ahead and just grab, let's have a look. I need the AMD tar GZ. I'll go ahead and grab that from here. And then I'll copy it across to the other machines as I need to, rather than downloading on all three. So let's have a look. We need to do tar, xvzf, and etcd tar. And in here, there we go. There it is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. We will copy that. In fact, you know what? Let's do the install command, and we'll do the owner as root, the group as root, the permissions 0755, and we will do that into user local bin. etcdctl. So we'll do that one, and then we'll also do this utility. I've rarely used this utility, to be honest, but it's always good to grab these things so you've got them. Okay, that didn't copy properly, so I mean I could have just typed it out by now, and it's still not doing it. I'm not sure why, but let's just type it out. So etcdutl. etcdutl. Okay, now we can go ahead and just remove that etcd download. So let's have a look, see what we've got. We'll just remove both of them. And now if I do etcdctl, there we go. Okay, we have the tool. So what I'll just do now really quickly is SCP those files across to the other nodes. So we'll do SCP user local bin etcdctl to 192.168.0.205, and then we'll just put it in the same location. So we'll just grab that and paste that in. So that's that one, and then we'll do the same for util, and we'll do it for 206 as well. And now all of these should have etcdctl and util. Cool. Okay, so that's obviously good. We've got the tool we need there. So that's something I didn't install separately, because obviously if I'd have said go and install etcdctl, you might not have known what to do there. So there we go. Okay, so back to the guide. Let's have a look. So this is how we can test it. So let's just grab that, and we can do this on all three, or we can just do it on one. And to be honest, it will just tell us anyway if all three are healthy. So let's just do it on one of them. And we'll do it on this one here. So I didn't actually need to install it on all of them, but obviously it's good to have it on all three, because if one goes down, you can still troubleshoot using any of the hosts. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're passing in the peer certificates, the CRT, and we're just going to fire it at host 0 and ask for the health. So let's run this. Yeah, it's exactly what I thought might happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and do, what I need to do is synchronize my panes. Let's just do that. And then we'll just do a quick search reverse for system D, and we will edit this file. So what I expect is the error I've made, replace system D with the C group driver of your container runtime. We are using system D, because if I actually look in vim etc container D toml and go look for system D C, we've got the system D C group equals true. So our C group driver is system D. So I may have made an error there. So let me just restart that. So I'll do restart kubelet. So it might look a little bit funky there, and I'll just give that a minute or two. Let's just do journal CTL on that and just check, make sure everything's looking okay. Okay, so started volume for etcd. Okay, that's fine. And it looks like this one's actually had an error. So I'm just gonna, yeah, okay. So 1 second, let me just double check I didn't break something in that one. Bear with me a second. Okay, yeah, I can see what's happened. So the synchronized panes didn't quite work out as one would hope there. So I'm just going to go ahead and correct that. So bear with me. So it will be container d.sock there. And then I need to come all the way back and change it. For some reason it worked on the other two, but for this one, it just didn't synchronize properly. So I'll change that to system D and reload. Restart. Okay, so let's do one more journal CTL and we'll just check that. So doesn't look like I'm getting any errors there. So in theory, if I now do cry CTL and then runtime endpoint, and that will be var run containerd containerd.sock. I can just do ps-a. So I can see that all of them have started running. So in theory, if I now unsynchronize my panes, go back and grab that command and run it, I'm hoping that we should have it coming up. Okay, so that is saying that this is healthy. We should be getting all three of them. Interesting. Let me check each one. Okay, so it's just saying to check them separately. I thought there was a way of checking all three off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've used the etcd command, but you know what? Let's take a look. I'm going to do member list. That's the one I'm thinking of. So that's the one I want to check. So member list. Here we go. There we go. So we've got it all started. It's all running. It's good to go. Okay. So all of our members have registered and that's etcd set up. So all we need to now is go back and finish the process here. So we've set up this. SSH is set up. Copy the following files from any etcd node in the cluster to the first control plane node. So I need these files here. So what I need to do, again, I need to cat out .ssh id rsa.pub. I need to grab that, and then we synchronized here. We are. So I need to unsynchronize because I'm doing it to the first control plane. And all I need to do in here is SSH, authorized keys, and print that into there. Now I just need to make sure I can actually connect from here. So SSH 192.168.0.201. Yes. And there we go. That's the control plane. Cool. Okay. So now I know I can SSH across. So we've got that. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this one to root at and the IP to 192.168.0.201. And then I can go ahead and copy these files across. Nice and simple. And I'm guessing it's going to make me move those files, but it's fine. I'll do it over there afterwards. So we've got those three files copied across. Now we just need to set up the first control plane node. So we need to create a kubeadm config.yaml file with the following content. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do vim onto that. We will copy this in. And let's just check this out. So control plane endpoint, we need to change this. Okay, so this is going to be 6443. And this will be 192.168.0.200, which is our VIP, the VIP. And 6443 is the standard one. And this one here, we need to change all three of these to the relevant IPs essentially. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of those comments. Put that port back in, 2379. And this is going to be 192.168.0.204 and 192.168.0.205 and 192.168.0.206. So what are we doing here? We've just copied all the certificates across. These are what is going to be referenced here. And then we have the IP addresses of the endpoints here. So we'll be using we created peer and client certs for the etcd nodes to be able to communicate with each other. Well, these certificates are for the API server to be able to communicate with etcd. That's literally all we're doing. Okay. So now back to the commands here, and we've replaced these values as required. So that's fine. And now we just go ahead and again, the following steps are similar to the stacked etcd setup. Now we didn't have this upload certs flag on the last one we did because we added control plane nodes afterwards. Well, this time we're going to be doing it all in one. So now we're going to do the upload certs. It means that we don't have to do that copy and certificate steps that we had to do in the last one. And that is this manual certificate distribution bit down here. We did this in the last video where we added 2 extra control plane nodes after the fact. With this one, because we'll be adding control plane nodes straight away, those certificates can just be managed via kubeadm itself, essentially. So I'm just going to copy that and we will pass in this config and hit enter. So let's do that. And what's the problem here? Oh, I didn't copy them into place. My bad. Okay, so I thought I'd just done that. I obviously wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. So we'll copy the API server bits across into there. That is not a directory, so we'll just quickly make that directory. Of course, it's not a directory because I've not done anything with it yet. And what else did we need? Was it just those 2? Oh, the CA cert as well. So let's get that done too. And ca.cert, and then I can remove the API bits and remove the CA. I could have just moved them actually. I don't know why I copied them. So let's go back and run that kubeadm init command now. So we've got another error here. I'm just going to expand this out to make it a bit easier to read. So couldn't load the private key file, API server.key. Okay, that's fine. Let's just check this again. That is what it's looking for. Let's just make sure that that is named properly. And let's just check the permissions of those 2. Okay, those permissions look good. Ah, okay, that's in etcd. Okay, that's fine. I didn't actually clock that. So again, just make sure you read things. Obviously, I didn't. So we'll make that. We'll then go ahead and move etcd Kubernetes. Where did I put it? PKI CA to that location. And then one more time, let's run the init command. And this time we should find it goes through as expected, if you actually read and run the commands correctly. So we'll just give that a few minutes. I'm actually going to run this command on all the other nodes because I don't want to have to sit and wait for all of them to download. And that can just be doing that in the background while this one's being set up. So again, we'll just give that a few minutes, and while that's happening in the background, let's read on what we need to do in the next few minutes. So we need to make a note of the join command, apply the CNI plugin of our choice, which in this case is going to be Cilium, and then we're going to make sure the first control plane node is fully initialized. Join each of the control plane nodes. Don't forget that the decryption key from this expires after 2 hours by default. So that upload certs basically means that if you don't add those control plane nodes within 2 hours, it'll expire. Once we've done that, we add the worker nodes, and that's it. We'll be good to go. So while this is still doing all of this, again, as I said in previous videos, because I'm running so many VMs on one machine at the moment, they're all using my network connection, and you know, it's going to take a bit of time, but that's fine. It gives us a moment to go ahead and look at Cilium install. And Cilium's really easy to install. We just run a command using the Cilium CLI. So let's have a look at the Cilium CLI. Let's get that installed, and we just need to run this. Set our architecture, and yeah, just copy that. Okay, so we'll grab that ready, and then we'll go ahead and just install that on our control plane node, and that's pretty much all we'll do. We just need to grab the Cilium CLI. I mean, we could actually do this from our own machine. You know what? No, let's do it from my local machine. Let's just do it from my local machine. So while we're waiting, we will go ahead and install the Cilium CLI. I do already have this actually, but it's probably out of date, so I'll just grab the latest one. So I'll just run that and let that do its thing in the background again. And once that's done, all I need to do is grab my kubeconfig onto my local machine from the cluster, and then I can just run Cilium install. And it is as simple as that. It really is. So all we need to do now is wait for everything to finish. These have already pulled the images, so at least on the next step, this will be much faster, this join. So I'm just going to expand this out a little bit. Okay. In fact, I'm not even going to expand it out. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to grab the join commands for the worker nodes first. Zoom back out and paste that into all 3 of those. Zoom back into that and grab the join command for the control plane nodes, which, as you can see this time, has a certificate key just here. And that is the bit that will expire after 2 hours. If you don't use it, you'll have to go ahead and manually copy the certificates across like we did in the previous video. But we don't need to worry about that because we're just going to go ahead and join those nodes right now. So let's do that. We'll wait for the control planes to finish first. And hopefully Cilium's finished installing, which it doesn't look like it actually has done anything. So okay, that looks like it's not really doing much. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and download it manually myself. It saves the messing around here. So let's just go ahead and grab this, go down to the CLI section and install that. So let's have a look. We want AMD 64 and I will just do wget. We'll grab that. I'll just give that a moment. Okay, that's joined, and now we can go ahead and join our worker nodes. So we'll add all 3 of those. Again, these will be much quicker because we don't have to download all the extra bits. And the other thing I need is to grab this configuration onto my local machine. So I will do just that right now. So I'll do SCP 192.168.0.201. And I will grab this. I could cat this and drop it into the terminal, but you know, it's going to have certificate files in that I don't really want to be sharing because, you know, I'm going to be running these for a while. And if they happen to be online and I happen to open something up to public, then technically you can access my cluster. So I won't be doing that. But what I will do is just drag it locally. So I'll just call this tutorial.kubeconfig. And I should have permissions to do this. Might not, because it might be permission denied. Yep, okay, that's fine. I thought that might happen, so I'll just go ahead and copy that first to home Ubuntu. I would then go ahead and chmod that. Sorry, chown that to Ubuntu, and I'll do admin.conf. I'll run that again. No, I won't run that again. I'll run this instead, and then I can go ahead and just remove that from home directory if you want to. There we go. Okay, not the prettiest way of doing it, but it works all the same. So now what I can do is kubectl get nodes, and then do kubeconfig, and I can just use tutorial.kubeconfig. So now should get a list of the nodes. Hooray! There we go. So they're all not ready as expected because Cilium is not installed yet. I'm not sure what's going on with this. Do you know what? I've already got Cilium anyway. So what you would do is download that, unpack it, and yeah, let me just see if I can just download it. Okay, so that's just worked. I have no idea what's just happened there. So I'm just going to move that from mount C users Drew downloads Cilium. And I'll just move that locally. I have no idea what was going on there with that wget. It should have been working, but it didn't. There's always a way around stuff. So let's unpack that. And let's have a look at Cilium. Oh, is that just the CLI there? Is that it? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we'll move Cilium to user local bin Cilium. So it's just getting the latest version for me, really. Actually, I'll just do sudo install root, group root, and 0755. Pop my password in to do that. So, yeah, okay, so I'll remove Cilium, and then remove Cilium tar.gz. Okay, so we're nearly there. We've nearly got everything ready. We'll just do Cilium version. So this should be the latest one, which is 0.12.12, 0.12.12. Okay, cool. Right. So everything's set up. Everything's ready to go. We've set everything up. Everything's connected. We now know that we have control plane nodes ready to go. So I will watch those. And then all I'm going to do is just do Cilium install. Now to do that, I'm actually going to have to get this as my context. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to back up my current kube config to just config.back. And then I'm going to move that tutorial one into place. Because I don't want to lose my current kube config because that's got everything I use for work, everything I use for home. It's just, yeah, not going to be losing that. And I'm not going to add this to it because I want to keep them separate. So now, if I run that command again, I don't need to have this kube config on the end. And we can see all these nodes aren't ready. And what we should see is those become ready as we do Cilium install. So here I'm going to do Cilium install. It'll automatically pick the best configuration options for you. So it's worth noting here that we haven't ignored kubeproxy. So we're still using kubeproxy. Cilium can actually work without kubeproxy. So in theory, what you could do is you could do kubeadm init, skip phases kubeproxy, which would not enable kubeproxy. And then when you do Cilium install, that would allow you to just replace kubeproxy altogether with Cilium. I'm not going to be doing that in this one. I'm just going to do the basic setup because I didn't want to go into the sort of advanced level things, but that is pretty much all you need to do. So that is an option there. So I'm going to run this, and what we should see is these nodes become ready as Cilium sets itself up. So let's just do status on that. So these pods are pending, that's fine. That's why these errors exist. And I'll also do kubectl get pod and we'll look at all namespaces just to see what's going on. So we can see kubevip's up and running, kube scheduler's up and running, kube proxy's up and running, and I'm just going to leave this running. This should get itself set up. It will run all of its initialization, and then these should just become running. So, and as they do, these will all become ready, because this is the last part of the kind of jigsaw. So we'll just leave that for a few minutes and watch these come up, essentially. So we should start to see nodes become ready. There you go. Any moment, these will all be ready. Got one more to go. And there it is. Okay. We now have our nodes ready. We have our CNI installed, which is Cilium. We have etcd working externally for us. And that's everything. Let's just go back to our guide and make sure that we've not missed anything. So we've done Cilium. Let's have a look. We've got, yeah, that's done. Done our workers. And then we're down to manual certificate distribution. There we go. We're done. Well done, everyone. You made it to the end. And there we have it. There's your production ready cluster. Little caveat. Obviously, you want your firewall rules to protect all your nodes and things like that. But don't worry about that. That will be done in a later video. Or if you already know about firewall rules, make sure you're doing that now. Okay. Just don't worry about it too much for now. We're not actually deploying this in production, but in theory, this is a production ready cluster. You could go and deploy this today and it would be good to use. Okay. This is the cluster we're going to be using moving forward in this series. This is, well, it's not going to change. That's it. Unless I add more worker nodes for whatever reason, this is not going to change now. This is the one I'm going to use, because I'll be able to show you how to do etcd backups and restores quite easily with this. I could have done it in the other setup anyway. So if you've stuck with the previous videos, that's also fine. We can still do those things. So don't worry which one you go for. If you go for the previous ones, that's fine. If you go for this one, that's fine. Either one will work. There is not going to be really any difference in the content. It will just be the endpoints you hit in terms of it being the etcd nodes or the control plane nodes. That's it. So now that we've got that ready to go, let's start going into things like deploying pods and deployments and services and jobs and ingresses and tools that are really useful on Kubernetes. The kind of, this is what you should probably install straight after you finished installing the cluster. That's where we want to go to. Okay. So let's go. See you in the next one.